Let's hear one more time for our next final expressive look, everyone.
Welcome everyone back to the London Invite. Our first final in the books, moving to the mixed division now. A rematch of our little showcase yesterday evening. The Barramundis Australia mix taking on the host nation Great Britain. Benjamin Rees back with you for the penultimate time this weekend. And my revolving door has turned up the wonderful Amelia Durbin.
Hello, very excited to be here. Yeah, I'm really excited.
I know you've been yeah, you were a little bit nervy when I spoke to you last weekend.
I was, yeah. Needed some good advice. I've just come off playing, so my mind is still very much in Frisbee mode, so hopefully I'll be able to give some good intel.
That's perfect. It's exactly what you need. No thoughts, only vibes.
I'm very excited. Do we know who's on offence today?
Good question. It looks like it's going to be Australia to start. Normally I advocate starting on offence always if you can. GB's O-line has struggled at times this weekend, especially at the start of games. I don't think they've converted their first O point at all this weekend, so maybe starting on defence actually not such a bad idea for them.
Yeah, I think the GB team still may be finding their legs a bit, but compared to Windmill, they've been so good this weekend, so really excited to see what they can do.
Halden catching the pull. The first pass to Evans. Looking to find Howden as the reset. He has to clear through. Chodos in the centre. Yoshida in front of Taylor. Evans once more. Australia's O-line was red hot last night. Yoshida to Howden. Feathering that one in there. Dorothy Lee, who kind of snuck up with 3 or 4 goals yesterday, almost sight unseen. Chodos. Ripping that one in there, finding Shannon Bubb, and it's a clean hold to start for the Barramundis. They take a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, I was really impressed by Australia's offence yesterday, and that was another excellent showing of what they're capable of. Shout out to my teammate Ruth Taylor there with a really difficult matchup. I think the GB team's super close to getting some of those Ds, so I think a little bit push more, and I think we'll see some good breaks coming. Yeah,
there are easier matchups, I think, certainly than Coyote Yoshida, but it's why you play at the top level, so you can test themselves against these, World Games standard athletes. Even if it's a task I'm much happier that I have to talk about rather than actually do myself.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't envy them.
No, it's tough as we're seeing Great Britain's O-line take the field now. It took them way too long to get going yesterday. Against the Australians, were kind of 3-0 down in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that, but I think they fought back really, really well, and hopefully that won't happen today.
Looks like we have, just trying to see who that is with the disc in hand. It's Michaela Dunmore, who started things off with an electric layout block on the first point last game. I'm sure GB will be more than wary of her. The disc fades towards the far sideline and will drop out of bounds. Feequan will take it from the brick mark to begin.
It's great to see Fee being able to do both sides of the disc. Sometimes she's starting downfield, sometimes in the handler space, and I think for a female matching player, that's such an impressive skill set to have.
Yeah, be one of these hybrids they can use anywhere they wish. Defender Biz doesn't get there. I wonder if they'll try and run it through Agnew for a little bit. They recognise it and hit it. Now they're clamping down a little bit. Just going to toss this one off. Briggs going back to Agnew. Agnew scything it down the line to Pope. Great Britain's offence with a clean hold to start. That must feel good.
Yeah, an exciting start to the final. Always nice to see two offensive, excellent points coming through. Roll on the D-line, I say.
I mean, you're a player who we saw kind of suiting up on the D-line yourself in that last game. Do you feel like you approach the game differently as a D-line compared to an O-line, or is it kind of one overall mentality?
I think for me, it sounds awful, I'm not a big fan of playing O-line because I think on O-line you have to maintain chill.
There's a little bit of extra pressure maybe.
Yeah, and then once you get the turn you have to switch from chill to aggression, whereas on defense I find it easier to come out absolutely gunning down the pull, putting loads of pressure on defense and then being able to go zen on the offense. Yeah, O-line is a bit scary for me. So again, don't envy the players that choose that as their expertise.
I must admit, I think my expertise is definitely sideline rather than O-line or D-line, but you need those people to kind of bring the energy and bring the noise from the sidelines. I think it's an important part of any team.
Yeah, sideline is so key. I think the GB mixed sideline are a really, really good sideline. Been playing this weekend and can hear them from fields away.
I mean, obviously they think that if they could, they'd probably rather have Carla Link, Alice Beeching, Andy Turner out there playing than on the sideline. But even if they can't get out there on the field, it's so important that they are involved on the sideline, involved in the game plan, providing that communication, providing that energy. The GB sideline, you can no doubt hear, getting loud right in front of our booth. Phillips spraying it downfield. Beautiful pass in stride for Yoshida, who they isolated in space, and shooting all the way across the end zone. Kovshov closed in, but not close enough. Yoshida threading it through to Ashley Evans for the score.
That was quite beautiful.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
They're so good at setting up these isolations, the Australian offense.
Yeah, I mean, we're really fortunate to see GB and Australia play 3 times in a week, with Windmill last week. I think they matched up once or twice there and once or twice here. Normally when world tournaments in Australia, you don't see the Australians until you get there. So really cool to see these two big teams match up against each other so early in the season.
So they met at Windmill and GB won 14-10 and then Australia won 15-11 yesterday, which means that if you do the maths, it's 25 all on aggregate. And that's how it works, right? And this is essentially the rubber match almost.
That's far too much maths for my brain to comprehend.
you D-liners, it's like C-disc, chase disc.
Literally.
Right, but, I think the fact that they have met already, it does add a little bit of extra, not spice maybe, but just some seasoning to this contest.
Massively. They always say it's really hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah, they do. They do say that. And I mean, let's look at GB Open as an example, right? Absolutely smashed Canada on Friday. 15-4 wasn't even close, barely a game, and then Canada won the rematch yesterday. So
yeah, well, staying with I'm staying with Connor, and he's got the Canadian coaches with him, and they were playing different lines on Friday night.
Yeah, you could tell that they had clearly made those adjustments. And we'll see those two sides match up for a third time as Agnew drops.
Stares at his hands in disbelief. We've all been there.
How have you betrayed me? What can the Aussie D-line do at their first opportunity with the disc? Looking into the backfield, Dang. Illustrating that the backhand wasn't there, and maybe two players crossing each other over. McInnes returns the favour. Agnew hitting Taylor in the centre. Briggs just past the ringing Ramadan. And Taylor didn't see that. Did Hodgick keep it up? I couldn't tell you at first look because
we've had the VAR coming straight over.
Ironically, the replay screen was in the way. There you can see that was tipped on the way through. That is down.
An incredible effort from Tom Hodgitt there. Really good to see.
Technology is great when it works. Zip through the centre of the field. Taylor just stepped up a little bit to apply pressure, and the disc ricochets out of the grasp. Third possession this point for GB. Briggs had his pocket picked.
And they're coming back for the VAR.
Seems like they're happy to keep this as a GB disc. It's close. Don't get the best angle of it. Contested and sent back.
Very good use of hand signals there. Looking forward to seeing that on the world stage.
It makes our life so much easier. Just give me a hand signal for strips and force outs next. Thank you very much. If you're listening, Ruben. I know you were looking for feedback. There you go. Hang on a minute. People making the incorrect signal for violation, as they always do. Got to close those hands.
Oh, that is good. I didn't know that. That's good knowledge.
Yeah, every time.
Every day's a school day.
I won't tell you how I remember that, at least not on air anyway. Agnew down the line to Hodgett. GB eventually making it stick for twos.
You can feel the pressure really ramping up now. The first 2-3 points were pretty steady. Offense had good tempo. That's a good few turns for both teams now. Looking to be a very exciting final.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like it should be, right? As you've seen, two evenly matched sides over their two previous meetings, so you would expect it to be close in the third. Agnew just using that momentum down the line to Hodgett to finish it off for the goal.
It's really good as well to see the GB mixed team playing through everyone.
Yes.
I think missing some key players like Andy, Alice and Carla is quite significant, but it doesn't look like they're not there. People are really stepping up and filling their spaces, and that's great to see. Yeah,
it's so easy to forget what key pieces they are, because, I mean, they have been massive for GB year upon year upon year, as you see there one of the captains there, Cam Agnew, who's I think only ever played mixed for GB now that I think about it. Of course, here, going to be at Worlds. Didn't have Worlds in 2020, of course, because something called a pandemic, I don't know. But was on the gold medal winning squad in Jur 5 years ago. Played GB mixed under 23s back in 2015 as well. Phillips in the centre, slings it today. Cushioning the forehand to Lee. Lee wants the break off the line. Goes back just past Taylor to Yoshida. On the balls of her feet. Trying to find her way past Taylor, who's doing quite a good job of just trying to tie her down. I don't think you can ever truly eliminate her, but maybe just minimise the impact. Day. Chodos collecting the blade around. By the time Ogden saw her, it was already in Chodos' hands, 3-2.
That was exciting. I feel like I keep using the word exciting. I need to go and look at the dictionary of other words that convey good things.
It was enthralling.
Emphatic.
Yeah, emphatic's good. We'll take it. You see they're trying to take this, not a huge margin for error, but if you get the throw with the right edge, as he did, that roll curve, and got it out early enough as well, Ogden sees it and he knows that he doesn't really have a shot at that point.
I think that end zone cut is not used enough, that initial slash towards the front cone and then using the deep space of the end zone. It's a hard throw, but once you've got it down, it's quite easy to hit. It's
so easy to get preoccupied with scoring right at the front line, kind of doing the almost rubbing your opponent's nose in it by beating them to the front cone, that you forget that you have a whole end zone to play with.
Yeah, I'd love to see some stats for how many goals are scored in the first third of the end zone versus the second 2/3. That would be interesting.
That would be good, actually, just to kind of properly pinpoint and track whereabouts in the end zone are these goals coming. Because I feel like the sides that are the most successful are the ones that utilise every single blade of, well, real or artificial grass.
Absolutely. And very exciting to watch as well. Squeezy goals, not as much fun as a big expansive goal, in my opinion. Very
true, although I must admit there are some games where, so the example I always use is the French Open National Final a couple of years ago. Shaq versus is no good, as it always is, right? And the last 4 points, everyone seemed to forget that you couldn't score on the front cone, because it was less about scoring and it was more about making the point that you beat your opponent, your hated rival, to the front cone and you could rub their face in it. It was incredibly silly. I loved it. They were far too good to be doing that.
Nothing more satisfying than beating someone in a foot race.
Almost too arrogant to refuse to do anything else. It was hilarious.
Ooh, great defensive pressure from Oz. I don't know number 70's name, but yesterday I was so impressed by their speed on the pull.
Ferdy Ramadan,
absolutely incredible athleticism and speed from him.
And he doesn't get a piece of this, but maybe he did get a tiny little fingertip. Either way, Briggs sees the player flash across his vision late, and he can't hold his focus. Furrowing the inside channel. Owens. Back into the reset to Powley, who had a brilliant game yesterday evening.
Fellow Plymouth University Ultimate alumni is Powley. And we've got a block from Sam.
I didn't realise he was I knew he was from the UK. I didn't realise he played at Picnic.
He did, like me.
It is Picnic, isn't it?
It is Picnic, yeah.
My uni ultimate knowledge has dwindled somewhat since my heyday. We don't need to talk about when that was. Pope with a rising stall, able to squeeze that one through to Briggs. Briggs looking at the break side space, finds Hodgett for Hodgett's second goal of the game.
Yeah, Hodgett the handler, not being handly today, scoring some goals. Love to see it.
No, it's not. Yes, that's always where I think about kind of Tom Hodgett being the metronome that sets the tempo at the back. But sometimes it doesn't call for that, right? And when you've got so many players who are capable with the disc in hand, sometimes you need to be happy to, move away from the disc, go downfield, and still got that sense of timing even in the end zone. Briggs catching the riser, and then just softly throwing the break into space for Hodgett.
Lovely. And great composure from GB Mix there to get the disc back. I think sometimes when you're on the O-line, not that I have much experience, when you get that turnover, you suddenly feel very deflated and it's really hard to switch on to play D, but loads of pressure applied by both sides, so a great showing.
Three apiece here, on serve so far. Australia yet to surrender the disc from their O-line. GB Mix haven't been as clean, but they've been able to get it back. Evans catches the pull before Lee centres to Chodos. The Barramundi's offense looking like a well-oiled machine so far. Lewis trying to stick tight on Howden, who worms his way free. Now breaking to Yoshida. There is such purpose in the way she fakes. She really does sell you. Kovshov eventually surrenders the space, and then Howden punching it down the break side to Evans. They're really good again at making it very clear who's active, who's getting involved.
Yeah, once the Australia O-line get going, it's very hard to stop. Really, really quick. Using loads of space as well, but also not afraid to squeeze out the sideline with those kind of give-goes and leading passes. And that is a beautiful inside here. Absolutely textbook.
Just a little bit of nothing more than a mere flick.
Yeah.
And I know that you call that a flick anyway, right? But it really is just a little ping off the finger.
A forehand, as the youths now call it. Flick is how I've been taught, but now people are calling forehand, and it's very confusing.
Back in my day, it was called a sidearm, which again felt a little bit counterintuitive because you're not really throwing with your arm, right? That's what everyone tells you when you throw. It's not about your arms; it's about your wrist.
About your wrist.
Yeah. At least, as I say, that's back when I learned, and at that age, we were still learning in black and white, right? So it's been a long time. Apparently we're on MVP picking duties.
Yeah, we should tell both teams that.
No pressure. What we should see is who'd be willing to give me the prize, and then we can pick them.
You get them to pay us.
I'm not saying I'm open to bribes. I'm just saying talk to me.
I am. Please bribe me. Find me at the commentator's desk.
Hey, at least you're wearing it on your sleeve. I admire that.
Australia coming out on D. What is the gender? I can't see the 7th player on there.
Well, you've got Ryan Davey on this near side, which indicates we've got 4 male, 3 female matching players. again, the prescribed puller rule makes so much sense. As soon as we brought it in, it's like, yeah, we should have been doing this eons ago.
Absolutely, I love it. It's so good.
Lenton tied on this, or Hanton, excuse me, tied on this sideline just across the halfway mark. Wants to get the break off to Kwon, doesn't see it, so Pope instead putting it out into space. Agnew might have to bid, and it raced away from him. The shot was there.
Yeah, good shape, maybe just a little bit too fast, but you know, sometimes you've got to take the aggression's options. I remember Matt Bolton told me once that shooters have to shoot.
Shooters do got to shoot, that is so true. Speaking of shooters shooting, down the line, that is a remarkable put.
Yeah, what a shot.
Hitting Stoddard right in stride.
Big pressure from GB here.
Yeah, Australia can sense their first break. They've been generating themselves multiple opportunities. Can they finally make one of them stick? Sideline trying to make their presence felt. Brereton shooting, and excellent work from Hodgett, who you could see just looking at the eyes, tempting that throw to go, and then stepping in to slap and swat it away. Briggs now to Agnew. Pope. I thought the throw to Hanton could have gone, but instead breaking around, Hodgett finds Wilson. It's looking quite congested in the centre. Briggs on the reach. Now Kwon. Pope's taking off. Going to try and fit it in there. Fowler bids and does spectacularly to get a fingertip on it. I thought he'd given himself too much to do. He proved me wrong.
My favourite part of that was seeing Sam Moat sat at the back of the end zone with his camera in a slow-mo replay, picking up and seeing if he's got a good shot. That was incredible.
I mean,
Plymouth Ultimate, just saying.
You can't blame the shot from going up. Sometimes you have to tip your cap, although Fowler lost his. That was a remarkable block.
That was amazing, yeah. That'll go on the highlight reel.
You think?
I'd like to see it then.
Yeah, 100% it will. The Barramundis have come to play this weekend. Clearly they had some fine-tuning to do at Windmill, but it looks like they have made some adjustments and more. Zipping through the inside channel, Fowler again. The Australians getting a lot of love with these inside throws. Trying to shoot it down the centre. Come off it. There was not a window for that one. Stoddard bringing it in. Australia do get their break. 5-3. What a block to get them the disc. And a visionary throw for the score.
Yeah, that was such a nice throw. I think that's often an underrated skill, to be able to throw with so much touch and so much softness that it just leans and glides into your receiver's hands. That was great.
Yeah, that's the best thing to see as a receiver when you're going deep in the throw. It just feels like it's sat there, almost like someone's like hung it there and it's just waiting for you to stride up and take it away.
The stars have aligned, the seas have parted, the disc is coming. Beautiful. I do think that the GB mixed team have got a good few breaks in them. I think their defense has been really, really good. You know, an extra 3%, and I think they're there. You've seen so many contested passes across all the defensive points they've played. So once we get that D-line out again, I think we're going to be back on serve pretty quickly. That's my bet.
Yeah, this Barramundi D-line, they were really utilising those inside throws well, and you think there's no way you can get it past that traffic, but I mean, could not have executed that put any better, really.
I've seen a lot of insides this weekend. I don't know whether it's because of the wind. It's not too swilly, but there's definitely something there, and I think the IOs are sitting lovely. I know Bristol women this weekend have struggled with people getting IOs out on us, and I think it must be the weather. I
think certainly when it was a little bit warmer as well, the disc was tending to hang a little bit more in the humidity. It's amazing how the atmospheric physics affect things.
Yes.
It's something that I would love someone cleverer than I to do important research in.
The people need it.
Agnew to Wilson. Male matching players back in the handler set for now. Hodgett collecting the break. Taylor zooming through underneath, as he so often does. Tossed up and just weaseled its way behind Hodgett. Ferdi Ramadan again just flies all over the field.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what can happen here on the offense. This GB mixed line is going to have to really step it up to get that block. And Sam coming down with it.
Stoddard looking deep. Oh, Fisher Day, come off it. Australia, they are riding the hot hands and they are red hot right now. 6-3, that put from Stoddard. It's not open, so to speak, but it's putting the faith, putting the trust in the receiver, and it is indeed Fisher's day.
I think from a managerial decision, it's really tricky what to do now. I think being broken twice on the bounce, is it timeout time? Is it change the line time? Is it change the call? Curious to see what they come out with on this third try.
Generally when this has happened, we're just going to get a replay of the score again. And Wilson comes so close, but not quite close enough. Andy Lewis very nearly finished us on this near sideline, but we just about got a shot of it there. Generally, when they've been broken twice, they've put the D line out there, and if you have a look at the personnel out there for Great Britain, that is indeed the play again here.
I like that. I think putting some trust in the D-line offense sometimes is a great way. Get the O-line off, give them a shake off, and get them to get ready for the next go.
I think as well, because they've done this a few times, it's not going to be a surprise to anyone. They know that in this scenario, this is what we do.
Some newer players to the roster here. We've got Callum Spears, Freya Lenton and Harry Ogden and Nick Williams. So new players to the GB mixed line this year. So great to see them put out as the trusted D-line players to slot in the offensive point.
Yeah, of course, Nick Williams played GB mixed back in Hungary in 2019, but then had to satisfy his wanderlust, go on his travels, and now back in Great Britain and back on this mixed squad. Spears catching the pull. Australia trying to mix things up defensively as Thompson scoobers over towards this near side. Williams with plenty of time and space. Lenton to Becky Thompson. Scoobering it again. Excellent way of accessing those soft spots, especially with pretty much no wind. Spears blading down the sideline. Did she toe that in? I mean, it's Bailey Melvin Tank, so I shouldn't be surprised if she did.
Watch them come to the VAR. Carla Link sits behind me now.
I think that's good.
I think that potentially could be good.
I think she's been able to keep that foot down.
Yeah. I think you could potentially say that maybe it's just grazing the 3G, so maybe could be called out. But I think that is close enough to be in my humble opinion.
We have the benefit. It was cool, so I think it should be in.
Oh, absolutely. I think that is in, yeah.
Yeah, and they had the Barramundis, to their credit, had a look at the replay behind us on the sideline and immediately signalled goal. So good spirit there. When it's so tight like that, you know, we have the benefit of the technology available and we can slow it down frame by frame. But, I mean, that was impeccable, like, ballerina strength on the sideline with the very tiptoe Bailey Melvin Teng. Just, I mean, yeah. I think that enough has been said at this point about what she's able to do, but let's look at it with the slightly more build-up. There is the space as they split the deep there, and it goes to Melvin Teng, and you think, oh, it's like, could Spears have made it a bit easier on her? I mean, sure he could, right? But where's the fun in that?
So much composure to be able to use all your limbs at once. I think that is a great skill. Bailey knows here, my feet are down, I just need to go for it, and she's in.
Sorry. I wonder if you heard that on the commentary.
Sorry for the kids at home. Some spicy language.
Ben Paolo wasn't wrong, right? That's the thing. It was impeccable footwork.
Add that to the highlight reel.
We'll call that knowing your target, right?
Yeah, trust your receiver. Got Becky on the pool now. Very excited. I know Becky was out for a couple of months with an injury, so really good to see her back on the pitch.
The trajectory, fading it over towards that far side. Howden picks up and immediately gets it out of his grasp. Phillips. Childers now looking for his next option. Howden burns down the line. Great Britain again, they're not going one-to-one here. They're trying to zone up a little bit to stymie this Australian flow. But how good was that? They sensed the opportunity and then bam, running the gauntlet all the way to the end zone between Howden and Evans.
What are your thoughts on that purposeful gender mismatch there? So Freya taking a male matching player for most of the point. I know that that's a strategy that mixed do sometimes, but so what are your thoughts on it?
I think if you find the right opportunity, it can really work. This time though, I'm not sure whether that was necessarily the matchup to go for. Howden as a player, I don't think is ever still. Like, I feel like if he just stops for a second, like the energy would overflow and he spontaneously combust, right? And so whoever you've got on him, you need to be aware that that is going, and maybe you think, actually Lenton's a player who has that short area quickness and can go. But, I mean, whoever you put on, like, it's a tough matchup to stop. Yeah. Certainly, I think often teams feel constrained that they have to match up, you know, on a gender basis, when really you think, well, actually, you know, are we getting this right, you know, maybe in terms of physicality, you know, if we've got a taller player, then, you know, do we want to have a shorter player? Do we want to play this around a little bit? We know what you're doing. Your role is always going to be in the backfield, so we can get someone who's, you know, maybe a really good handler mark back there. Yeah, I think you have to, one of the reasons why I love mix, and I think I've been on record numerous times and calling it my favourite division, is because I think you have those little more tactical nuances that you can roll in, and I think teams are often not brave enough to try and push the envelope on.
Yeah, definitely. Strategic D is the future, I say. Lovely shot there. Yeah,
Davey tried to poach in, and they recognise that. Hodge it into the soft spot. Going back to Kwon. Kwon to Agnew. Excellent reach and grab. Feel like he wants to get this into the centre here. Does to Thompson. Oh, this disc is still alive. And in the end, I think she trod on it.
Oh, might need a disc check. A steady stud.
New discraft, please.
No Euro discs. I know they had to. The GB Mix team had to play with Eurostars and Ireland, and I know that some of them were struggling to adjust with the fade.
It's they just behave slightly differently, of course, because they've got, you know, slightly different molds, and
they do.
It's one of those things that at first, you know, you feel that something's different, right? It's not wrong. It just takes some getting used to. I
personally love a Eurostar. The way I throw my backhand hooks really lends to a Eurostar. So every time we get the opportunity, I think, let's go.
I remember when the first mold of the Euro disc, the disc was so, it felt like rigid, and they were really awkward to throw with, but they've definitely fine-tuned that over time. This one, Fowler, absolute howitzer, looking for Cook, who brings it in, and Australia break for half.
Goodness me, what a throw. The amount of power that came out of that, but the amount of control is really impressive.
Fowler has had a brilliant weekend for the Barramundis. You have to hold your hat up to him. Collecting the hammer there. They left that soft side available. Absolutely uncorks an extra set here. Elliot Cook going deep. You know he's a player who can come up big in the clutch. We saw that for Deep Space last season. And Cook with the break to bring Australia into half. It feels like the Barramundis are just, you know, a couple of gears at least above where they were at Windmill last week.
Yeah, I think the GB Mixed D-line might need to look at a way of trying to slow down that offensive flow. I think the O-line, I'm not really sure what's going wrong. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a pressure and big blocks from the Barramundis. It's more execution errors, whether that's tired legs or mental fatigue, but maybe a reset and they'll come back cooking.
Yeah, certainly there is plenty of time left in this game, but Australia, I think, understandably pleased with their first half performance. Their O-line hasn't turned it over at all, 5 for 5. which is a passes to turnovers ratio of infinity, which I think is pretty good. I think you take that. But for Great Britain, there's more they can do. Their D-line's not had a chance at the disc except when they came over to play offense. You know, in their 7-0 points, they've turned it over 8 times. And again, if you look at it, and it doesn't feel like, you know, Australia are necessarily getting some big... Oh, actually, having said that, they have got some, you know, frankly ridiculous blocks, so maybe I take that back a little bit. But they're just, you know, it's resets that are going a little bit overthrown. You know, throws into coverage, they're maybe rushing ever so slightly. But when you're playing a side that are as scorching hot as the Barramundis are at the moment, and they are A, a really good side, and B, a really good side that's playing really well, it's... I mean, you don't want to give them any opportunities, right?
No, and sometimes it takes a lot of brain power from the captains, coaches and management to figure out what they can do to stop the flow. And I think games at this moment can really get away from a team. So Sean Colfer here probably trying to steer the ship back in the right direction. The game's not over until it's over.
I mean, they have somewhat consistently this weekend, I think probably much to their chagrin, given themselves deficits in games and fought their way back from them. But with all due respect to Deep Space and Reading, and Australia, as you would probably expect for the reigning silver medalists, actually at the past 2 editions of the World Ultimate Championships in London in 2016 and in Sakai, Japan in 2012, and at the World Games last year, I mean, there's such a legacy of Australian mixed ultimate on the world stage.
Yeah, I feel like it shows my lack of knowledge, but I have never really watched much Australian Ultimate. I think the first time I saw a team from Australia play was Lunchbox at WUK in 2021 and was so excited to watch them play every game, and a lovely kit.
Yeah, could well have made the final, depending on who you believe they should have made the final. But yeah, certainly coming home with a bronze medal that could well have been more. And of course, ULTI.TV, we have our Australian arm, and it's good to, that ULTI.TV have renewed that relationship with the Australian Flying Disc Association after some slightly rocky relations at one point.
Yeah, it's great to see it back.
Low for Kwon, who lays out, but it won't go to hand. Just making those throws a bit more difficult than they need to. I mean, Kwon, it's a low throw. Can she catch it? Yeah, but it shouldn't be a throw that she has to lay out for necessarily. Yeah,
the defensive intensity from the Barramundis is really impressive, and you can see the sort of fear starting to glare over in GB's eyes.
And then Day, as cool as you like, just popping that hammer over towards the break side for the imaginatively named lefty. No guesses as to why. Chris Stoddard for the score, and Australia break to start the second half, 9-4. I mean, the Barramundis are rocking and rolling right now.
Yeah, they're really onto something. But probably worth giving, GB Mixed a fair shout out. It's always really difficult to play as a national team at a tournament against big other national teams, but also club teams. There's a lot of kind of mental energy that goes into feeling like you need to win and you need to perform in front of a home crowd. So I think they're doing really, really well. They've had some great results this weekend. So again, I keep saying it, a game's not over until it's over. I have faith that it's going to come back closer. For the fans looking over at Grasshoppers Rugby Football Club as well, we need to bring it a bit closer for them.
Oh, is that what it stands for? I thought it was for Real Frisbee Club.
Oh, I wish.
We'll wear them down.
Maybe if this is Clapham's tournament home, maybe they need to be renamed as the Clapham Grasshoppers.
No, the bullfrog. You can't get. I'm sorry. Who wins in a fight between a bullfrog and a grasshopper?
I don't know. Grasshoppers are quite scary. If you go into the bar, there's some really terrifying murals of grasshoppers if you've seen them. Yeah, there are actually, and they're in the changing rooms above as you walk out as well. There's a painting like on the ceiling as well, which is a little bit ominous. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, bullfrogs eat grasshoppers. Although. Oh yeah. Yeah. The circle of life.
Isn't it so? Also, key thing is that it's not in Clapham.
Well, neither is Clapham. They train in, like, Black Horse Lane, wherever that is in London, I think.
It's northeast, I think.
Yeah, nowhere near Clapham. It's a lie. But less about Clapham, more about GB Mixed.
So true. Hanson wanting to get it off the line to Spears. They brought their D-line over to play offense again.
I think it's a bit of a hybrid. I know Alice is definitely O-line.
Oh, that's true, actually, because you do see Hodgett still out there. So is Helen Thompson.
I want to shout out Alice. She has been absolutely incredible for this team. So good. Really, really, really pleased for her.
Pope swinging to Williams, a bit of air underneath it. Bidding Dunmore gets the block.
Wow. Full horizontal.
Such a defensive presence.
That was great.
Don't hate the choice of swing, but Dunmore is just able to explode underneath. Australia consistently making those big plays. Blading high down the sideline. Oh my word, what a reception from Fermi Ramadan. Because you feel like Spears has got a pretty good position on that, but not quite good enough. Australia running away with it a little bit.
That was really impressive. I suppose if you want to maybe look at things a bit differently, you could say that the way that Australia is playing could be argued as a bit 50-50. I think that GB scores, although small, they've had some good scores, albeit Bailey's toe in. But Australia are really pushing their bodies around, and week-long tournament, is that sustainable? And is that sustainable to keep up that pressure?
I mean, it is a fair point that, yes, you know, the Australians may be playing in the margins a little bit more. But I think when when you're expecting these shots and the defenders aren't, and when you are hitting them consistently, they're more than 50-50s. I mean, that's ludicrous, let's be real.
A fair point. If it comes off every time, it's 100-100.
And this is a Barramundi's roster that, I mean, yes, is strong, but a familiar face to GB. Bex Palmer, I can see, is in trainers rather than in cleats, so, you know, she's not been out of there. I don't know if we've seen Timocles Copland out there either. So, I mean, the fact that this roster could get stronger is, what's the word I'm looking for? Scary. It's not. Yeah, it's scary.
It's early in the season in the grand scheme of things, with work not happening until late August, and we're only in mid-June. Lots of time on the board.
Yeah, both of these sides you expect will kick up a couple of notches by the time the World Ultimate Championships start on the Gold Coast in 8 or 9 weeks' time. Melvin Tang to Wilson. Wilson tossing the backhand off the line to Kwon. Kwon wanting to go wide. Briggs powers his way up line.
Ooh, lovely shot. That was cool.
Finds the inside through to Kwon. And now Davey jumps in front.
Bit of a shake of the wrist there from Helen, but pushing on.
Briggs not clearing out quick enough, and Davey able to drop off and get in there. Here's the Aussies. We know they want to look big. Davey somehow felt he was never going to get there, but I love that he gave it a go. I wonder if he's done himself a bit of a mischief.
I also think he might be wearing trail shoes.
He might be, you know.
I was watching regionals 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago, and then Andy Lewis was playing in trail shoes on grass, and I thought that was quite a rogue decision.
Well, it was able to get him the block, even if he wasn't able to come up with the layout at the end.
True.
I think he is going to have to make way.
Maybe a bit of a winding there, so an injury sub. I'd be curious to see if GB take someone off and put some fresh legs on. I know on my team that is a big thing we do. No matter what, we always take an injury sub.
Put me in, coach.
I think they're staying the same though, so trusting those 7 players they've got on the pitch, which is also a really good thing to see.
We back you to get the job done. Agnew leading Briggs to space. There's the flick bomb. He's looking for Wilson. Absolute money.
That's the GB mixed offence we know and love. I think they'll be pleased with that.
It's exactly what, I mean, Josh Briggs has kind of made his name upon, isn't it? He's getting the disc in the power position and ripping those flick huts with scarcely a modicum of effort.
I think you can see the absolute joy on Briggs's face when he realises he's got a flick force on. You can just see the visual joy of like, oh yeah, it's time. Most teams I think are like backhand only for Briggs, but that was textbook.
Yeah, leading Wilson out towards this near side. Dang knows he's beaten. The question is just, it's the throw on line, and it was money.
Almost playing a bit of an Australian style offense there with that sneaky leading inside and then a big expansive huck. Maybe they're playing them at their own game.
Yeah, taking a leaf out of their playbook potentially. Now, can Great Britain generate turns on the Barramundi's O-line? Something they have done just once so far.
A very strong set of 7 defenders there. I hope that they're able to put some big pressure on and get some big blocks. That's what we want to see.
I was very impressed with Bennett's pulling in the last game.
Oh yeah, that is gorgeous.
And the Mundis feel it in their own end zone.
Bit of a slow chase from GB there on that pull.
Yeah, you wonder actually Bennett having, you know, expended all that energy for the pull about then taking a handler match and having to charge down the other end of the field. Wonder if you can maybe have him on one of the downfield threats instead and make him just have to do a little bit less work. Lee looking to get it off the line. Phillips has space. Cranks it with double coverage, and Evans gets it anyway. I'm not convinced that that was open. I'm also very convinced that it didn't matter.
Yeah, as we said earlier, shooter's got to shoot, and again, it's not 50-50 anymore, it's seemingly 100-100. I think GB Mix there maybe a bit nervous of their hucks coming off, so really pushing them under, but maybe that under force wasn't as much chest to back, but more kind of sagging off. I don't think there was as much intensity as GB Mix wanted there on the defensive looks. Surely
it's 100-0 rather than 100-100, right?
I said at the beginning I wasn't very good at maths, and I think I've just proved it there. You are absolutely right.
Thank you, thank you.
Not just a pretty face.
Well, you shouldn't. There's Mish Phillips, her first stat of the game, even though her impact has very much been felt regardless. That one, from the position, you felt, okay, well, she's almost kind of, she's leaning backwards a little bit, and she's not, you know, having her hips positioned downfield, but she just found the spot and it was like, I'm just had the instinct to get it out there quickly and rifle it into Evans for his 4th goal of the game.
Yeah, years of experience with that player, so not surprised to see that coming off. She knew.
It's always, I think, mighty impressive when players go and start families and then come back like they've never missed a beat, because you forget kind of what changes your body goes through.
Oh, absolutely. And to see Nisha's child here, that's come on a 24-hour plane ride as well. So it probably wasn't a relaxing journey.
I can't imagine that it was. There's a reason that I have cats rather than children.
Oh, I have a cat.
How many?
Just one. She's an angel.
Here's Agnew, wants something a little bit closer. Wilson looking at the end zone. Agnew's going to take off up line. So they poach into that space. Pope didn't like the swing. Thompson will take it now. Hanton catches the riser, ripping it into Wilson. Oh, it's going to float, and it gave Powley the opportunity.
I think we might have a call there.
It does seem like there's a foul call.
Not a hand signal in sight.
I think it's clear what the position is, though.
Yes.
Discussion couldn't be about anything else. Hanton with the riser, right to pull the trigger, but again, just the weight not quite through it enough.
That's quite a difficult one, because I think that's...
It does seem like there is a slap on the back of Wilson's hand.
Definitely, but Powley almost comes over and kind of takes that space. And it, contact, was it after the disc had gone? Was it before the disc?
Yeah, in the latest amendment to the rules, it does say contact with the hand or arms after the outcome of the play has been determined is not a foul. It's not considered a foul, but is to be avoided. I think the argument here is, actually, was that after the play had been determined, or were you not there? Had you not got that, then would I have brought it down?
Yeah, certainly. I think there's some real good examples of what a contested foul should be, and to me, this is a prime example of a contested foul. It's so close, and I think the rules are there to be interpreted, and I think the contested there would be the fairest outcome, in my opinion.
Yeah, we've also been talking about it for 90 seconds or so by now. So if you're not going to come to a resolution,
yeah,
and then there comes a time when you say, okay, let's send it back and let's move on.
Yeah, but GB with an open pass here with unguarded on Alice. So
Goes to Thompson, then charges up line. Again, the Australians do such a good job of flashing across on the force. As a pick downfield, we're getting a temporary halt to proceedings. Pope looking to take on the break.
Oh, a strip.
Yeah, accepted.
Uncontested. Good hand signals.
Yeah, give me a hand signal for strip though, you know you want to. Could be so easy.
Did there not used to be a hand signal for strip?
Never has been, because they wanted to make as few hand signals as possible.
Oh, interesting. I always thought it was this.
No, people have basically accepted that you just do a foul, but you move one arm down the other a little bit more. But yeah, it was never actually in the rules, because generally the outcome is the same. The only scenario where it's not is if it's an accepted strip in the end zone rather than an accepted foul,
yes,
which is a score rather than just taking it to the front line.
Yes.
Hansen too far in front of Pope. I think maybe the fact that GB's offense wasn't quite in rhythm, and there were those stop-starts, and it just broke up their flow and their momentum.
Yeah, definitely a disruption there. I think that's what happened, but fingers crossed they can put some big defensive pressure on.
Cook across to Dang. Ramadan continues to churn up yards underneath. Ruiz on the far sideline. Everything clicking right now for the Barramundis. Putting some air underneath it. Love that shot across to Fowler. Out of his hands quickly. Dang.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm just happy everyone's okay. Because that could have been an almighty collision with some friendly fire between Fowler and Ramadan. There's the shot into the end zone, and I think both players were expecting the other to go.
Hands on the hip for 27 there, disappointed with that shot.
GB won't mind, but Dunwell definitely feels that one got away. Here's the great escape in the end.
That could have been really quite nasty.
Yeah, coming from different angles, and you could almost see the concussion from here.
Yeah, you can just see how much it means for both teams. So people really flying around trying to get the blocks or keep
Australia
possession.
Got away without the collision there, and GB got away with getting the disc back. Hodgett swinging to Thompson. Pope was poached in the centre. Thompson squares up to find her. Now looking down the sideline. Past the bidding Ramadan. Briggs just in front of Fowler. And I wonder if he was thinking about, do I want to pull the trigger on this or not? Because Josh Briggs just sent it right into the floor.
Yeah, that's quite uncharacteristic from Briggs. It looked like it almost fell out of his hand. I don't know whether he was out of position or out of balance, but that didn't look like his usual complimentary flicks we were giving him just 5 minutes ago.
Cook. Back to Dang. Hansen will try and close. Couldn't close enough on Owens. Another pick. There's stopping some of the fluency of this contest. Canada and GB open, preparing for their final that takes place after this. Ben Fowler on this near side.
Ooh.
Zinging the blade into the end zone. When it left his hand, it felt like he didn't have enough on it, but the plays these Australians have been making, I still wasn't sure until it actually hit the floor.
It's quite easy to get scrappy in these long points.
There's the flick that we know from Briggs.
There it is.
Agnew can't quite milk it all the way into the end zone. And it's going to be Wilson who's got the cream in the end. 11-6. That was a real grind of a point, though.
Yeah, that was... I don't think we timed it, but very long.
Yeah, 2 turnovers aside, but a very stop-start nature to that one with, a fair few picks that do just disrupt the rhythm of both sides, to be honest.
I think what watching this game is showing me how important tempo is. You can see the O-line on both GB and Australia, when they're in tempo, it's so easy. And as soon as that rhythm goes, so hard to get it back.
I think if I were to kind of take one word away from this weekend, it is tempo. The sides that are able to set that, play at the pace that they want, really orchestrate things, those are the sides that have had the most success. I mean, looking back to the women's final in the last game, right? Both sides, when they were moving, they played really slick offense. But I think Yaka, generally, were just doing a slightly better job of disrupting Bristol's rhythm.
Yeah, I completely agree. As Bristol's captain, shout out myself, you're totally right. I think our D line was trying to stop their tempo, but less successfully. And Yaka are a really, really good side, and they did so well at just stopping that initial pass. So shout out to them.
Yaka's offensive unit looks crisper this season than I think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, and they don't do lines. They do hybrid-y stuff, and that is also great to see and terrifying.
Well, that is the Yaka way. Halden catching the ball to Evans. Isolating Yoshida in the centre. Powering underneath past Ruth Taylor. Now Chodos shooting, airing it out to Evans. The sideline is there, and Callum Spears just making sure, because I would not want to give, well, the Australians just maybe the crack of a window to burst through. Spears off the line to Becky Thompson. Now Nick Williams. Spears has taken off downfield. Williams ripping it into Spears. Looking a little bit isolated though, getting it out of his hands quickly to Ogden. The two of them now run it between themselves. Spears down the line to Ogden for the GB break. That is more like it, Great Britain.
That is a Callum Spears point there. Really, really impressive. And what I loved is the confidence to throw the disc backwards. As Harry was running downfield there, Callum was confident enough to throw the disc back away from the end zone to give him the space to then push forward to get the disc back. Again, I think that is something that teams don't do enough. A lot of people will stand there and look forward into the end zone.
Honestly, it really grinds my gears when you're clearly the furthest player downfield and you turn and look at the end zone for a couple of seconds and you fake. It's like, there's no one there.
Yeah.
Who are you faking to? What's the point? But Spears and Ogden, they both kind of come from this more flowy motion school of ultimate, right? And it's all about taking those open passes quickly. It doesn't matter where they are, because as a defense, what you love is when your opposition is kind of stuck and they're struggling to get things moving. You hate it when the disc is constantly going around and you're always having to adjust your position, always having to orbit, being on the balls of your feet. And Spears and Ogden there did not allow the Australians to get set.
Yeah, completely agree. Really, really good from those two. And another GB D line out now.
Yeah, I mean, they finally got that break. I think you leave them out there and let them go.
I think they have changed some personnel a little bit with Nikita out. Lewis was not on last point, so he's been brought on to bolster it.
Yeah, they've got Bailey Melvin Tang to pull.
A great puller is Bailey Melvin Tang. Been really impressed watching her pull for Iceni a few times this year, and they're very powerful.
And we know she is capable of the big play. We've seen it already this game. Initiating with Davey in the centre, and it was behind him. That was just the rare error, because GB have got blocks, but Australian haven't really given them any freebies. I think that probably qualifies. Lewis trying to muscle his way down the line. Doesn't like the look of Lenton. Lewis wants to get it off. Does so to Bennett. Helen Thompson, who's come over to play defence. Bennett to Taylor. Going to take the end zone shot. Going to finish the end zone shot to Andy Lewis. Great Britain, that's 2 breaks in a row, 3 on the spin in total, 11-8. They're trying to make a game of this late.
11-8 is still within touching distance. If the game's are 70 minutes, we've got 11 minutes on the clock.
There's time here.
There's definitely time.
You've got things rolling, there is time. It would not surprise me to see an Aussie timeout, if not now, then pretty soonish, if anything, just to take a bit more time off the clock.
Yeah, I know that sometimes when a team calls a timeout after these moments, it's very frustrating to be like, oh, they're just burning the clock down. But Frisbee is about tactics as much as it is about throwing and catching. But they haven't seemingly done it.
You have to play the game within the game at points, and the way the cap rules are this weekend, that who to go is finish the point, and if you're not tied or within one, then it's game end, right? So sometimes you do have to, have that recognition of the game state.
Yeah. Exciting. Who's the D-line they've put out here? Nikita out again, Harry who just scored, Bailey, and Callum who really ran that last D-line. So this is a great line to be putting out.
Yeah, So from left to right as I'm looking at it, Nick Williams, Nikita Kovshov, Harry Ogden, Fee Kwon coming over to the D-line, Becky Thompson, Bailey Melvin Teng and Callum Spears. And it's Spears who gets some air under the backhand with the pull. And again, the Aussies starting in their own end zone.
It's a lovely pull.
GB Mixed have been pulling well this weekend. Yoshida in front of Bailey Melvin Teng. I love this matchup. Dishing off to Chodos, really whipping that backhand fake. Now going around, oh, Harry Ogden with the layout point block. Let's go. Spears picking up, I think he wanted to call Ogden's number there. Around break to Kovshov, I'm pretty sure he's going to go back on the pick. I think Kovshov knows it as well. I mean, there's layouts and there's point blocks, and then there's layout point blocks.
I think a layout point block comes into the same category as a layout toe-in score. The amount of composure that takes to be able to do that is, I mean, it's very admirable.
It's confidence, right? Because if you don't go for that, you look an almighty mug.
Yeah, that's true. You get sold, as they say, sold to the highest bidder.
Backhand to space for Kovshov, back in Spears' grasp. Yoshida trying to throttle Melvin Teng. Spears to Kwon. What a calming offensive presence she will be after the turn. Back to Spears. Taking the swing. Yoshida, you see here, peel off a little bit to stop more break continuation. That one's going to go. Day might try and clease in on Thompson. Not going to get there in time. Thompson blading it over the top. Oh, Kovshov's got space if he can track it. Kovshov makes it 11-9. 4 in a row now for Great Britain. This is very much a game. GB again dug themselves into a hole, but they might be able to fight their way out of it once more.
Yeah, for those at home who can't see, Benji is now stood up.
You can tell when, I feel like it's so much easier to tap into the energy when I'm about on my feet and I'm kind of I can't sit still and everything it feels like is boiling over. Yeah. Here's the somewhat inevitable timeout from Australia.
I knew it was coming.
You think they had to now, right? Just to stop desperately any surge coming from Great Britain. I mean, here's the play of the point. Ogden just, he feels like it's a decent force, but he's down low on the balls of his feet, and he fully sells out for it. And what a block from the young gun Ogden.
Yeah, I think GB knew they were going to get a break in that point, because that is quite an offensive leaning D-line. You've got some really, really, really confident throwers like Becky there showing an absolutely stunning flick braid. I think they knew they were going to get that, and sometimes you need that innate belief that you are going to go out and get that block and absolutely convert it. So huge.
Yeah, GB playing with swagger now. Can they complete the comeback? They trail 11-9 here. London Invite mixed final.
The timeout is over. Both teams walking back to the line. Another strong D-line coming out. Shout out Ruth Taylor, my fellow teammate from Bristol Women. Hopefully she's going to crush it. It's
a tough gig, isn't it, when you're continually drawing the, some of the toughest matchups in the game, and you feel like you watch the highlights and, well, their players always getting involved in things. It's like, well, if you match up against some of the best players in the world, right, you have to accept that you're going to get beaten at times. Unfortunately, especially the way Ultimate works, it's very much an offensive game, really.
Yeah, certainly. And Ruth is someone who I think not often spoken about in the Frisbee scene as a player who people should watch out for. But Ruth for Bristol is, our defensive weapon. Someone that we put on the toughest matchups time and time again, and will always get us a block. And we have so much faith in her ability, and so fingers crossed she's able to put it into practice here and get something going.
Bennett uncorking the big old backhand bomb of a pull.
That is stunning. That puts my pulls in the previous game to shame.
I mean, no offense, but yep. puts a lot of pools to shame, really. It's such a big weapon for them, because the Aussies, a couple of passes and they're still on their own end zone line, and you really do feel that extra pressure. You feel like you shouldn't, because offense is the same wherever you are to an extent, but it does play in your mind. Let's not pretend that it doesn't. Stoddard airing it out. The edge is going to take this away from Dang. Dang trying his level best. In the end, he didn't even need to lay out for it. Covered the grass so quickly. The fleetness of foot coming in very handy there.
He's pushed them out the end zone.
Davey taking on the break to Stoddard, and Stoddard has time to weigh himself up into the end zone. There is a pick though, so I think this might come back.
I think GB Mixed have slightly changed up their defence, definitely up the far side of the pitch there. There was a little bit more sagging in the lane to stop the initial passes, and I think that worked really well for them. So a good defensive adjustment.
They're going to have the discussion here about what effect it had.
The pick rule, another very complicated rule. Well, maybe not so complicated, maybe I just don't know it very well. Ooh.
I can hear Felix chuntering away behind me. I know he's not a fan of picks, but the reason they exist, of course, is to prevent players from clattering each other. And in a non-contact sport, the fact that you can pull out and say, hey, hold on a sec, I just need to avoid the collision here, is very valuable.
Definitely the most spicy, though, a pick call, I feel. I think a lot of pick or nars go on the Reddit R Ultimate thread.
My life, no offence to any Ultimate users, but my life improved immeasurably when I stopped looking at it. But that's just with kind of all social media in general, right?
Yes, that's true.
Don't at me. Well, I mean, you can at me. I won't see it, right? I'll just crawl back into the cat hole and be fine.
Oh, I respect that.
I've got lots of excellent photos to show you in that case. Dang, putting it out into space. Taylor bids but doesn't get there. Excellent focus retained by McInnes. And again, squeezing it past Lenton now. The hammer, oh my word, that comes out at such an awkward angle.
Wowza.
And Williams with the tip of the pinky. That was all cause, you can tell by those bids flying in and the adrenaline rushing.
Now, if they score this, it's within one. So if time is up, the game continues. So this is absolutely critical.
Lewis has no force, so they can just bounce it through him as much as they wish. Dang's eventually going to get in position. He does, and Lewis rips it. Freya Lenton's wide open for the GB score.
Incredible!
Where has this come from? GB Mix, that might be, what, 4-5 on the row now? They are all over the Barramundis. It just took them too long to get a foothold, but now they have. They are refusing to let them go.
I think that's a really good example of defenders almost underestimating their opponents, because if you look, Andy Lewis and Freya was cutting deep for a long time, and Andy holstered it, and she continued and then was able to throw her that absolutely perfect throw, and the defender gave up.
Well, actually, I think something that Josh Briggs mentioned when we streamed the GB Mix game earlier today was saying that one of the things about the Australians is they throw further than you think, right? So it feels like, well, the deep shot, the opportunity's lost sometimes, and then they throw it and it catches you off guard because you feel like, well, you've held it too long, surely it's not going now. And that felt a little bit like that as well, where Lewis holding, you feel like, well, it's a couple of seconds in the stall count. Lenton was at a decent deep position already, so how much longer can she hold it for? But again, he was just waiting so that trying not to give Lenton too much of a job to do in the end. That is now from 11-5 to 11-10.
Oh, we love to see it. And again, Freya's a newer player to this GB Mix squad and has made a real impact. Have had her teammates speak very highly about her, and you can see why.
Obviously, I'm impartial, right? I know that I'm a Brit. Oh, you're really impartial, right? I just want to see great games of Ultimate. And 11-5, while you admired how good Australia were, it's not exactly the nail biter that you crave. We've got it now.
They've done it for us and only us.
Evans is caught it on this sideline and immediately walked off the field, so he's obviously felt something. Hope he's okay. Never nice to see. Especially a crunch point in a final like this. Chodas comes in and gets it off the line to Yoshida. Mish Phillips on the far sideline. Taking on the backhand, it's a high riser. Lee can't handle it.
I was just about to say that Australia mixed are really using the whole pitch, but I think they almost squeezed it down the channel there where they didn't need to.
Kwon to Spears. Believe a GB score here takes us to Universe. Williams underneath. Day in his pocket. Now looking for Melvin Teng. Spears it with that right hand. Off the line to Kovshov. Kwon once more. There we go. There is the end of time. So we will finish this point and see where we stand. At the moment, Lenton. Inside. Through to Thompson. Sleeve rolled up, ready to continue working. Lacking support.
There it
Again,
is.
going with that shot across. Yoshida gets the tip. That's still alive, though. I don't know if Spears towed that in.
That looked quite out from my point of view, and I think Callum knows it.
Yeah, Thompson, everyone preoccupied with scoring. Kwon clears up the line, and there's no one coming off to provide that reset. Just as Kovshov comes in there, Thompson releases, and Yoshida able to come across, recognise the danger, and get the block.
Is it bad I want it to go to Universe?
No.
Good. I would like it to go to Universe.
Day trying to pull the trigger for Yoshida.
This has been a
Never
great...
gave her a chance. It's been a phenomenal game, right?
Yeah.
It's a final. It's exactly what you want. Here's the turn on the GB possession again. Just as Kovshov recognises that he needs to be that outlet, Thompson releases and doesn't get maybe quite enough air underneath it. And Yoshida peels off to get in the way. Spears. Yeah, that looks on the line at best, I think.
For my commentating debut, this has been an absolute pleasure of a game.
You picked a good one.
I did. I didn't even pick it. I was allocated.
You were allocated a good one.
I was.
They knew.
They knew.
They knew.
Pull the best out.
Kovshov has got plenty of time, and he's searing shot downfield. Yoshida stepping in front of Melvin Teng. I think Kovshov felt just a bit isolated there, but it felt like he had more time and he didn't need to do it. Both sides feeling the pressure. An Australia score would be 12-10 final. GB Mix get it in, and we're going to Universe.
Fingers crossed.
I am impartial as always, but who doesn't love a sudden death finish?
I love a sudden death finish. I think a sudden death finish is easier to lose, I'll be honest.
Bob short to Yoshida. The lead charged off deep. Howden's going to burrow his way underneath. Kovshov covering in time. Now disc rising, and Kovshov in the lane lays out. Spears. Such energy and intensity here at Grasshoppers. Spears says, where's my support? Swings all the way across to Thompson. Thompson down the line, Williams catches, but it is going to go back on the pick. I think just like the catch, you don't want to, last thing you say, just leave it and be like, actually, you know what? We're just going to retract this pick. Nothing to see here. So heads up from Kovshov. Knows that's the hot spot.
Cool.
Thompson with a raking break around, too much for Lenton. Slaps her hands in frustration. But the way GB's defense has been playing, you feel like they can get another block.
Oh, definitely. I think we've got an injury with Freya coming off there. Hope she's okay. Bringing in Ellie in as the defensive sub. Is there a gender rule that if you take a female matching injury, you have to replace with a female matching injury? As in, if GB female matching player comes off, can Australia switch gender, or do they have to keep single gender?
No, I mean, as long as you keep the gender ratio right, I think it doesn't matter.
Interesting. I think that should be a rule.
Interesting. Anyway, they've taken Howden off and put Stoddard on. The inside to Stoddard. Phillips is going to charge away, but Thompson's covering deep. Stoddard against one more, trying to shut up these big isolation. Day. Air underneath it, trying to find Chodos, leading Chodos to the end zone. Tears it down. Was he in bounds? Well, I mean, he was in bounds. Was he in the end zone?
I think that is a fair call from Callum, I'll be honest. There was a lot of momentum travelling forward there. I wouldn't be confident to say that was in.
I wouldn't be confident to say it was not in either. I would have to look at it. I see why Spears is asking the question.
Yeah, for sure. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I just wonder, could Thompson maybe flash in there a little bit quicker?
Okay. We see where the commentators' viewpoint is.
People tried to crown out our replay screen to have a look. I think they're going to decide that it was not in after a period of reflection. Chodos into space. Oh, it's through Lee's hands.
I was just about to say, scoring like that is so hard. When you've got flow, you've got momentum, and if this hadn't been a travel call, it would have been a little pop pass goal. Just to come back and refocus, and then...
I think that right foot probably is still down.
Yeah.
I mean, usually with those jump-ins, even if it feels like they're in, they're not. Tried to squeeze it in for Kovshov, who couldn't secure it.
Yeah.
Red zone possession now. Surely the Aussies have to ice it. Yoshida breaking into the centre, 2 players there. Chodos puts his name on it and finds Stoddard. How they found it past Bailey Melvin Teng into Yoshida, I'll never know. Back to Stoddard. Stoddard. Kovshov completely selling out on the force, but he's able to pick himself up. And now down the line to Chodos. That one is going to count. Australia 12, Great Britain 10, final score. And Great Britain for so long never had a shot in this until they did. They just couldn't quite bring it to universe in the end, gave themselves too much to do. A real gut-wrenching win there for the Aussies.
Yeah, it's really difficult to lose those games, but also you have to remember that they could have lost that game 15-5. And I think that is a huge credit to their mental resilience to come out and bring that game back. So as much as they have lost the game, I don't think they've lost, they've learned a lot and probably won some lessons. I don't think they should be, they should be disappointed, but I don't think that they will be as disappointed if they could have been.
No, certainly at one point it didn't necessarily look like it was going to be close, and by the end, oh boy, was it close. There's the match stats for you. 5 breaks for the Barrows compared to 4 for the Brits. Their offense generally so much cleaner overall, but when they were generating the pressure in the second half, they were really feeling it. Great Britain converting on a better percentage of their break chances. They just generated so much fewer of them. I think it's kind of a similar story this weekend for Great Britain, just needing to make sure they can finish really strong, but they're getting themselves into too big a holes too often.
Yeah, I think that's something they'll probably discuss in the changing room or on the Zoom calls they have later in the season to try to find a way to make that stop, because it is, when does it become a bad habit? When does it become a little bit of a curse? And take some accountability from players to make sure that doesn't happen.
I'm pretty sure for their kind of leadership setup, for them it's already a habit that they'd like to break out of. You can be sure of it. Oh, great to be able to, just kind of illustrate the shape of the game there for you. 12-10, but big plays all over the shop. 2 sides fully committed for the victory. Australia looked like they were, far and away going to win this one, but GB applied real pressure, and you've got to admire the mental resilience, I think, of the Barramundis to not let it slip through their fingers.
Yeah, absolutely. And a pleasure. So thank you all for listening for my first ever commentated game.
Again, you were allocated a good one, so to speak.
I was very, very fortunate.
We have one more game to come here at the London Invite. It's the Open Final. And for the 3rd time this weekend, we're going to see Canada and Great Britain go head-to-head. And I cannot wait. And I'm sure that you can scarcely wait either. So stay tuned and locked here on ULTI.TV. The final score in this mixed final, Australia 12, Great Britain 10. Australia are your mixed division London Invite champions, and ULTI.TV will see you on the other side for the Open Final.
Thank you. Thanks. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Milan. I mean, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.